party started. My first guest, the one, the only, Steve G. Jones. Steve G. Jones is a board-certified clinical hypnotherapist. He has been practicing hypnotherapy since 1980. He is the author of 22 books on hypnotherapy. He's a member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, American Board of Hypnotherapy, president of the American Alliance of Hypnotists, on the board of directors of Los Angeles chapter of the American Lung Association, and director of the California State Register Steve G. Jones School of Hypnotherapy. In order to keep up with the latest in research, he regularly attends training conferences. Steve G. Jones, welcome back to Money for Lunch.
Well, thanks, Bert. Great to be here.
Man, it's always good to have you on the show. And today, particularly, I was excited to have you on the show because I want to talk about this deal about charging money. A lot of entrepreneurs out there have I'll call it a low self-esteem or low confidence when it comes to charging people money or charging, let's say, the right amount or the amount that they would like to get, for lack of better terms. And so they recoil, in fear, and they ask for this little bitty amount of money, in which they obviously get, or sometimes they even negotiate from there. So let me ask you, what's happening to somebody who is having, I don't know if you call that fear or scarcity mindset. Bottom line is they're afraid to ask for what they think they deserve or what they would like to ask for. Did I position that correctly? Did I ask that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. They're afraid to ask for what they're worth. They don't value themselves. I agree with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on. I attempt to transmit that idea to my students. First of all, you've got bills to pay. Second of all, you are providing valuable service. This is kind of timely that you asked this because just last week I was written up in Forbes magazine about my charge, and I charged $25,000 for the first 2-hour session, and Forbes put that in there, and a lot of people would say, well, wait a minute, that's a lot of money. But for me at this point, my time is usually spent in a recording studio making recordings that over my lifetime will yield far more than that for that 2-hour period. In other words, 2 hours that I spend in a recording studio that's going to reach a lot of people over the next 50, 70 years, however much longer I live. So $25,000 is a very small price relatively. So you've really got to look at it like that. What is your time worth and what's it worth to you? Now, the flip side of that is that you want to be accessible. So for those, in my case, who are not able to afford that, I have recordings on just about everything, hypnosis recordings. So I don't preclude anyone. Also, I don't exclude anyone, rather. And I also do pro bono work from time to time. So when I see a case that I consider a genuine charity case, I will actually work with them. But you've got to and I will work with them for free. So you've got to do the calculations yourself. What's your time worth? And then you've just really got to bite the bullet and jump in there and do it. And it's going to sound strange to you if you've been doing free work or inexpensive work, but it's something that you gradually get used to, and then you start to see the logic in it, and then you start to see something very interesting, which is that your clients or whoever you're working with, they actually want to work with you more, and they value the session more, and they end up getting more out of it because they value it more.
Absolutely. And, the deal is this, and I think this is a mistake a lot of people make, is they want to charge per hour versus, let's say, per project, or even better, per result. If somebody spends 2 hours with you, they're going to walk away probably a different person, a different mindset than the 2 hours prior to meeting with you. And so those 2 hours with you is going to change their life dramatically. And so how do you put a price on that? I mean, $25,000 for no results is a lot of money. $25,000 to get you to stop smoking, or to come over your fear of this or that, or to change the way you perceive yourself, is priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to, when you do that, when you do charge per hour rather than per result or project, you do see people paying a lot more attention. You see them really, really getting into it and getting out of it what they want and doing their homework, following up with it, doing what they're supposed to do at home. The other possibility, as you mentioned, is charging per project or charging per result. I see a lot of that also. I personally don't use that model because I'm offering my time, and so I'm compensated for that. But I do see that model also. Hey, let me give this a whirl, and we'll get the result you want. And if you don't get the result, then you don't pay. In the world of therapy, because it takes two to tango, you've got to have them on board with you. We don't do it that way because we're doing our job and we're hoping they'll do their job, but we don't know if they will. In a project, if you're just paying me to go do some research for you, of course, I'm going to charge by the project. I'm going to get it done. If I don't get it done, I don't get paid. If you're paying me for a result, hey, build me a rocket and get me to the moon. If I don't get you to the moon, no charge. If we've made that agreement, but you've got to consider the scenario.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different opinion of what results are, and you can also put different levels in there. I like your rocket to the moon strategy. If I build you the rocket, that can be result one. If I get you to the moon, hey, that's result number two. That's the ultimate result we want. But bottom line is, I think that a lot of people suffer from this low self-esteem, and they look at what. And I want you to give me your opinion on this, because I think what they do is they look at what's happening in the marketplace. Well, if everybody else is charging $100 an hour, I should charge around $100 an hour. Maybe I'll charge a little bit less because, quote, that'll get me more customers because I'll be slightly different. And so they look to what the market is doing and they copy the market. And I think that is a formula for failure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's a formula for mediocrity at the very best. I used to, before I started charging more and more, I was in a situation where I was charging, I think, $50 an hour per session. And then a mentor got a hold of me and said, Steve, you need to charge $250 for the first session, not $50. And I said, wait a minute, it's a huge jump here. And she said, look at me and tell me what you charge. And I said, we went through this a few times. I said, I charge $250. She said, no, say it with conviction. I charge $250. One more time with conviction. I charge $250. The next call I got was from a celebrity. And I said on the phone, I was my own secretary back then. So I said, I charge $250. Right. He said, when can I come in? And I'm convinced that if I hadn't charged that much, if I'd only charged $50, he would have questioned things. He would have thought, what is this? The bargain basement hypnotherapy service? So it's all about that. It's all about, getting into it. But like I said, once you do it and you have a success with it, like I did right away, then it just becomes commonplace. And then you can set the next goal. And it's not a matter of making more and more money. It's a matter of being realistic and valuing your time. Again, as I said, my time is spent giving to the world. I may make recordings that thousands of people will hear. If I'm going to be asked to do a one-on-one session with just one person, that person is taking away from those thousands of people. And they're going to have to pay for it. And that money isn't just going to be play money for me. That money is going back into the company to help me create the products and hire the people that are going to work on the products that are going to help the world even more.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what? And I like what you were talking about there. There's something that we, especially here in America, have been trained with, and that is, if it's expensive, it must be good.
Right, and sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's not.
Well, and that's true, but that is a training. So I like the example that you gave. If you would have charged $50 an hour to that celebrity, you're right. You probably would have walked away saying, "Wrong guy for me. This guy's obviously inexperienced, and that's why he's charging so little."
Right.
The fact that you were willing to charge $250 told him a lot.
Yeah.
Told him that this is a guy who obviously has experience, who has confidence in his ability to help me out. I better get on board immediately.
Yeah.
And it's, what you charge, I think, does send a statement out to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. The perception of value, and that's been studied by universities, actual juried studies by PhD professors of psychology and sociology studying this, offering two water bottles, one's $1, one's 50 cents, for example. The one that's $1 will be perceived as being better somehow, must be better for you, must be more purified, must be a higher quality water, when in fact they're exactly the same. So you tell people what you're worth by the price that you charge. And we look at it in vehicles too. Higher price vehicles are usually a lot better than lower price vehicles. So we are trained that way, and a lot of it is real. And I continue that idea that it's real. My time is worth a lot. A lot of times people say to me, well, why are you charging $25,000? I can go to so-and-so for $150. What are you doing that's so much better? I always say, nothing. I'm not doing anything that's better. My time is just more valuable. If you want to go to so-and-so, feel free. That's fine. I'm doing the same. I'm hoping that so-and-so is practicing the same type of hypnotherapy I am, which is the way that I was trained. So I'm not doing it differently, but I'm valuing my time. So here's another interesting thing. So I'm not attempting to fool them or make them think that I'm doing anything better. I'm just setting my price as higher because my time happens to be a little bit more valuable than so-and-so's, or I've realized it and so hasn't. So that's another thing to take into consideration. But if you're talking about small incremental steps, if you're thinking about raising your price just a little bit, I say go for it. And Bert, you talked earlier about someone going into the market and thinking, hey, maybe I'll undercut the competition. That's not the way to do it, because that doesn't separate you from the pack. It separates you as the cheaper one. That's not where you want to be. Wealthier people have wealthier friends. You get your first wealthier client in because you valued your time. You set your price a little higher than the competition. And guess what? They have friends who are wealthy also. And although it's not about making money, money does equal time and freedom and possibilities. So this gives you the ability to do more things, to help more people, to be more of you, and to overall have a better mood that you bring into each session.
Yes, and I hope everybody's picking up on that, because there is so much to be said about valuing your time and valuing your ability to get your clients results. And so price is not always the best gauge. Walmart sells socks, Neiman Marcus sells socks, and what's interesting is they probably sell fairly the same kind of socks, except at Walmart you get 3 socks for $6. At Neiman Marcus, you're going to get 3 socks for $60. Yep. The other difference is the service. If I go to Neiman Marcus, you know what? They're going to take my return. It's going to be quick. It's going to be fast. No questions asked. In some cases, I don't even have to show a receipt. If I go to Walmart, man, I'm going to stand in line for an hour sometimes to return a product. And and in some cases, they're not going to accept it without a receipt. And it's just a bigger hassle. So sometimes people will pay out the nose for customer service, for great customer service. Zappos, the shoe store, is a great example. They did not have the cheapest shoes. Their shoes were probably more expensive, but they had outrageous customer support. They didn't charge you for shipping either way. If you didn't like it, they would still pay for the shipping on the refund side. Sometimes, if you would order one pair of shoes, sometimes they would send you 2 or 3 pairs for you to try on the other ones and then send them back. Again, they would pay for the shipping on the way back. Bottom line is, what can you do to really be different? And it's not the price.
Absolutely. My grandfather on my dad's side said, distinguish yourself from the crowd. And so, a lot of that has to do with just being a moral person. But sometimes it has to do with making a statement. Sometimes it has to do with saying, hey, I know we're all doing the same thing, but my time's more valuable. So you really have to look at this yourself, and hopefully we've given people some food for thought here. You really have to look at it and evaluate it yourself, see what's right for you, and then you have to really take that leap, if you realize, wait a minute, I'm really wishing these people were paying more, and I'm feeling bad about it. I'm starting to resent them actually because they're not paying as much. Some people get in that situation. Then how about taking a step out? How about saying, hey, wait a minute, the next client who calls me, the price has gone up.
Yes, and sometimes this was my experience because I wasn't as fortunate as you to hit one right out of the ballpark. In my case, I had to wait 2 or 3 days. I had to wait, I think, like a week. In fact, I even turned down a client because he wasn't willing to pay my new price, and I had to let him. And I just wouldn't take on his project. Wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so that sometimes messes with your head. Did I do the right thing? I just let all this money go. But as your mentor did with you, you practice on that. How much do you charge? I charge $250 an hour, and you say it with conviction, and you say it with confidence, and you start playing with this new price and the new sensation, and you start thinking about not only how much value you're delivering, but how much value you're going to receive, and it starts to change your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm fortunate nowadays to be to meet from time to time friends of mine doing their seminars and so forth in different parts of the world, and I'm constantly amazed when I hear prices that are being charged for something for large groups of people are paying that, and so it makes me reassess. I think, wait a minute, all of these people see enough value in this to do this. I need to think about what I'm charging. So I'm constantly reassessing. It's very helpful sometimes if you don't have friends who do seminars or sessions of a higher price, then it's helpful if you start going to them and seeing what's actually going on. People are willing to pay for value. If you're delivering value, or if you are an expert at what you do and they know you can get the job done, people are willing to pay for it, and in a lot of cases, they're willing to pay a lot more than you think they're willing to pay. So, start going to these seminars and watch what's going on. Watch what people will pay. This will open your mind up to possibilities, and then you might think, well, wait a minute, there's a big difference between me and that person. Not really. That person's maybe a little further down the road, a little bit more experience, but the big difference is that person, he or she, they believe in themselves. And you are not quite there yet. If you look at that and see a difference, you're not quite there yet. And we're all there from time to time, and I'm there from time to time. And so when we do that and we feel that thing that says, I'm not quite there yet, you have to realize that the moment you let go of that, the moment you say, yes, I am, that's the moment you are there. That's the moment you are good enough. So I encourage everyone to do that and to step it up and to keep stepping it up.
I love it, love it. Steve G. Jones, we're going to end on that note. Guys, if you're lacking confidence, check out my friend SteveGJones.com. I guarantee you there's at least 2 or 3 audios there that will help you change your confidence, help you change your mindset. Steve G. Jones, thanks so much for stopping by and sharing.
Bert, always a pleasure. Thank you.